Well, everybody, welcome back to your Raise Your Bars podcast. I'm Al Ruttan. I'm here with Chris Baker. Chris, how are you doing today, man?
Doing good, Al. Doing good. How are you?
Excellent. Really good. And I'm excited because today we're diving into a topic that many leaders wrestle with, and
Yeah.
that's time management for leaders. We're going to explore prioritization strategies and more to help you grow as a leader.
Yeah. And Al, this is one of those topics where everyone thinks they know the basics, but very few leaders have actually mastered it. And here's the thing: how you manage your time reveals what you truly value. It's not just a productivity issue, it's a leadership issue.
Oh, that's exactly right. And time is the great equalizer. Guess what, folks? Every leader gets the same 24 hours. The difference between good leaders and great leaders often comes down to how they intentionally invest those hours.
Exactly. So today we're going to dive into giving you some practical strategies that you can implement right now. All right, immediately. Whether you're feeling overwhelmed, constantly behind, or you're just looking to level up your effectiveness, this episode is for you.
Now, before we get into tactics, Chris, I think we need to address mindset, because I've seen leaders learn every time management technique in the book and still struggle. And why do you think that is?
Well, I think it comes down to how you think about time. Most people think of time as something that happens to them. They tend to be more reactive, right? They wake up and the day controls them. Whereas great leaders flip that script. They see time as a resource that they invest, not something they spend.
Yeah, I love that distinction between investing and spending. When you spend time, it's gone with really nothing to show for it. But when you
Right.
invest time, you're expecting that return. And that
Yep.
changes how you evaluate every hour of your day.
It does. And here's a mindset shift that transformed my own leadership. Stop saying you don't have time. Start saying it's not a priority.
Yeah, that's
Because
good.
basically that's the truth, right? When you say you don't have time to develop your team, what you're really saying is developing your team isn't a priority.
Now that's a little uncomfortable, but
Yep.
it's honest, right? It forces you to own your choices, and ownership is essential for leaders. You can't lead
Mhm.
others effectively if you're not leading yourself well, and leading yourself starts with how you manage your time.
It does. And here's another mindset piece out, right? Understand that as a leader, your time has a multiplying effect. An hour you spend developing a team member might save you dozens of hours down the road. An hour spent on strategic planning might redirect the entire organization. So leaders have to think about leverage.
That's so good. And John Maxwell calls this the law of priorities. Leaders understand that activity is not necessarily accomplishment. Being busy is not the same as being effective. And the question
Mm.
isn't whether you're filling your calendar, it's whether you're filling it with the right things.
Yeah. And that leads perfectly into prioritization, right? Which is really the heart of time management for leaders.
Yeah, so let's get practical, Chris. What's your go-to framework for prioritization?
Well, I keep coming back to the Eisenhower Matrix, right? It's simple but powerful. You categorize tasks into four quadrants based on urgency and important, right? Urgent and important, you do immediately. Important but not urgent, you schedule. Right? Urgent but not important, you delegate. And neither urgent nor important, well, you eliminate.
That's good. And what I find fascinating is where most leaders spend their time. They live in the urgent quadrants, constantly reacting, putting out fires, but the highest impact work usually sits in quadrant two, important but not urgent. Things like
Yeah.
strategic planning, relationship building, and of course, most importantly, personal development.
Exactly right. Quadrant two is where leaders create leverage, but because those activities don't scream for attention, what happens is they tend to get pushed aside, right, by whatever's loudest at the moment. That's procrastination. We all do it.
Absolutely.
But great leaders protect time from quadrant two activities, even when urgent things are competing for attention. And the thing is, if you do that, what happens is that less things move into that urgent and important category, right? Because you're actually
Hmm.
dealing with them in advance, you're being more proactive.
Exactly. You know, another strategy that I've gotten used to using with my clients is the big three. Every morning, identify the three most important
Yeah.
things you need to accomplish that day. Some people call it the big rocks, right?
Mm.
Not your whole to do list, just the three things that, if accomplished, are really going to make your day a success.
Yeah, I love that approach, Al, because it forces clarity. And actually, just in a class I did this week at Disney, I taught exactly that model, right?
Hmm.
To a group that we were talking on this topic, prioritizing and scheduling. And
Awesome.
there's a really a popular saying, and it's a true saying, that when everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. So
Yes.
by limiting yourself to those three, right, your three big things, you're making real choices about what matters most today.
Absolutely. And here's the key to that principle. Eat the frog first, right? Mark
Yeah.
Twain said that if the first thing you do each morning is eat a live frog, you can go through the day knowing the worst is behind you. You know,
Mm.
your frog is the most challenging or important task. Do it first before emails, before meetings, before distractions, or before you allow procrastination to settle in.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's about protecting your best energy for your most important work, right? Most people are sharpest in the morning, but if you're not, do the things that matter most when you are at your sharpest, right? But
Hmm.
don't waste that peak mental energy on low value activities. Use it for work that really requires your full attention and creativity.
Yeah, and I actually taught that. We talked about that in my sales mastery course on Thursday evening with the group about, making those high level client calls at your peak energy times, right? You can
Hmm.
you can return voicemails or respond to emails in those lower energy times.
Yeah.
So here's
Yeah.
another prioritization principle is learn to say no. Oh, this is so good. And this is probably
Yeah.
one of the biggest blind spots for the majority of the population. If you're looking at the DISC model of human behavior, your S quadrant, your supportive people, one of their blind spots is being able to say no because they don't want to disappoint anybody. They don't want to let anybody down. They want to cooperate. So they say yes to everything and they overwhelm themselves and they burn themselves out. But one of the most important things we can do as a leader is learn to say no because every yes is a no to something else. When you say
Mm.
yes to a meeting that doesn't align with your priorities, you're saying no to something that does. And leaders have to guard their time and listen to this word, folks, ruthlessly.
Mhm.
Guard
I
your
love that.
time ruthlessly.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, Warren Buffett said the difference between successful people and very successful people is that the very successful people say no to almost everything. That may sound extreme, but the principle is sound. You can't do everything. It's impossible. So
Mhm.
focus on what only you can do.
And delegate the rest. This is
Yep.
where many leaders struggle. They think delegation means dumping work on others, but
Mhm.
true delegation is developing
Mm.
others by giving them the opportunity to grow while freeing yourself up for that higher level work.
That's right. You know, if someone on your team can do a task, let's say 80% as well as you, delegate it. What will happen is they'll get better and you'll free up capacity for work that truly requires your unique abilities and then enables you to grow and develop as well.
Absolutely. So, Chris, let's rapid fire through some practical tactics that leaders can implement this week. Chris, what's one of your favorites?
Time blocking.
Hmm.
Instead of working from a to-do list and hoping you get things done, what I do is put specific tasks into specific time blocks on my calendar. And I treat those blocks like appointments that I can't break. Because for me, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. I time block my most important work in the morning before my calendar fills up with meetings or other appointments that come along. I also time block for thinking and planning. If you don't schedule time to think, you're never going to find it.
Yeah. Another thing I do time block, and a lot of people forget to do it, is I time block for lunch.
That's a
Because
really good
also know
point.
if I don't time block lunch, then again, it can go by the wayside. But that's part
Hmm.
of your personal care, right? You
Absolutely.
need to time block that every day.
Love
So
that.
another tactic, let's think about what if we batch similar tasks together? Check email at designated times rather than constantly through the day. So again, I have a block of time on my calendar at 7:30 in the morning, just after lunch, and then at 4:30 in the afternoon for check emails. Schedule all your one-on-ones. Right? Maybe you do that on the same day. Right? Whatever works for you. Group
Yeah.
phone calls together. Because here's the truth, and this is the killer of prioritizing and scheduling, is
Mm.
context switching will kill your productivity.
Yeah. Studies actually show it can take up to 23 minutes to fully refocus after a distraction. 23
Yeah,
minutes. So
it's
every
crazy.
time you check that notification, you're not just losing those few seconds, you're losing your momentum and the mental clarity.
And you just think about that, Al, for a minute. Like, how often during the day would we potentially get distracted? Even if you
Hundreds.
say it, well,
I'm going to
yeah,
say
but even if
hundreds.
you even if you said it's 5, right? That's
Yeah.
like that's like 2 hours that you're
Yeah.
losing every day
Yeah.
for 5 distractions. That's
Yeah.
crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So so speaking of distractions, let's be ruthless about protecting focus time. Close your door. I know we're sort of leaders will say, "I've got an open door policy," but if
Hmm.
your door's open, but if someone comes in and you don't wanna talk to them, you haven't got an open door policy, right? So you
Right.
might as well close it,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah,
close your
exactly.
your door. Turn off your notifications. Let your team know when you're in deep work mode. You're not being unavailable. What you're doing is you're being effective.
That's so good. And here's another one, the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Don't
Yeah,
add it to a list. Don't schedule it. Just as Nike says, just do it. This
yeah,
keeps the small things from piling up and cluttering your mental space.
yeah. Because it probably takes longer to put it off and schedule it and think about it than it does just to do it, right? Um,
Absolutely.
on the flip side, build in some buffer time, right? Don't schedule meetings back to back. Leave a little bit of a margin in your day for the unexpected. John
Hmm.
Maxwell talks about white space on your calendar. Because let's face it, something unexpected always happens.
Hmm.
All right. Leaders who overpack their calendars, what happens? They're always running behind.
Yeah, that's so true. And one more, do a weekly review. I think this is one that lots of people maybe don't pay attention to.
Yeah.
Every Friday or Sunday, look back at your week. What got done? What didn't? Why? And then
Yep.
look ahead to the coming week. What are your priorities? What needs to be scheduled? This 20-minute practice keeps you productive rather than reactive.
Yeah. And I'd also add to that, Al, in terms of, what went well and why did it go well, right? And how
Mm,
can you
good
replicate that?
point.
Because we want
Good
to be
point.
looking at those things as well, right? And the other thing I'll add here is know your energy patterns. When are you most creative? When are you most analytical? When are you most effective in meetings? And then what you want to do is schedule your work to match your natural rhythms. Don't
Hmm.
force strategic thinking at 3 in the afternoon if you're mentally spent by then.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. It's I always say like by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I need my Celsius energy drink.
Yeah.
And Celsius, our podcast, is looking for sponsors. So just, I have to at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I seriously, I don't know if it's now, Chris, it's become psychological that I need it, or it's just that little
Probably.
extra energy boost. But about 2 o'clock afternoon, after lunch, starting to settle back
Yeah.
into the duties of the day, and I have to have my energy drink. So, Chris, as we wrap up, I want to bring it back to why this really matters. Time management isn't just about getting more done. It's about becoming the leader that your team needs you to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when you manage your time well, you're less stressed, you're more present, and you're more effective. You have the capacity to invest in your people. You can think strategically instead of just reacting. Time management is really self leadership in action.
Yeah. Well, everybody, I want to again just thank you for joining us today. And here's our challenge: reflect on what you've learned and take one action this week by applying it. Maybe it's implementing the big three. Maybe it's time blocking your mornings. Maybe it's learning to say no, but pick one thing and commit to it. Don't try to do it all at
Yeah.
once. Commit
No,
one, commit to one thing and stick to it.
Yeah, because small changes in how you manage your time will compound, right? And they'll become massive changes in your leadership impact.
Mhm.
Don't try to overhaul everything at once. You can't. Just start with one improvement and build from there.
So manage your time intentionally, lead yourself well, and keep raising your bars. And folks, if you are a small to medium sized business owner, if you're looking for help with culture, with increasing your bottom line profits, with building your team or building yourself so you can be a more effective leader, then reach out to Chris and I. We have a way to help you.
Yeah. One challenge you could do is schedule time to listen to our podcast every week.
Hey,
So
there you go. Great idea. Put it in your
take care,
calendar.
everyone.
Bye for
Bye.
now.